Hey everyone, it is Elise. I am also known as Rimrock Shadows. I am the one responsible for doing a lot of those ethereal, artsy music plus cinematic video in the wilderness area out here in Northern California. I like to do astrophotography. There's a lot that I like to do with visual media, but I have never made a video like this before, so vulnerability. I decided that I really need to video the process of my stained glass from start to finish that I've been doing. I've been doing stained glass for about a year now. Last year I took a bit of a hiatus from video, that type of visual media, only because I had a lot of burnout, but now I'm kind of coming back out of my shell with that whole area. I just moved into a new office, which I'm super excited to make a new stained glass window for. And it is going to be science themed, it's going to be astro themed, so I really want to take you guys through this process. It's kind of weird doing this type of form of video, but I think it's going to be fun, and you guys will be able to see what I do and how extensive the process is, how expensive this can be, and the time that it takes to make a stained glass window. Let's get to it. First thing that I have to do is make a pattern. A lot of people do it in different ways. Some people hand draw and then copy that pattern to make a duplicate, because you need two patterns when you're making stained glass. You need one that you cut up and one that you build on top of. So I have found over time that I really prefer printing my patterns on vinyl sticker paper, cutting the patterns with the pattern shears, the same pattern shears you would use with regular paper, and then just sticking the pieces that I want to onto the glass and grinding them down to the sticker. You can make copies of a drawing, or you can print out copies at, Office Depot or FedEx. If you have a makerspace near you, you can use one of those as well. I have used makerspaces, and right now I am printing to a local company that is a printer in town, and they do a really good job of printing on vinyl paper. So this is the current design I'm working on. It is going to be space themed, as you see. So what I did was I knew I wanted this to be 2 feet in length, and so I just made my canvas size in Photoshop 2 feet, and I worked off of that. Used the line tool to connect lines, and I use the warp tool to bend and transform. A lot of people use Illustrator or Procreate. I'm not familiar with Procreate. I don't have an iPad, and I'm not familiar as well with Illustrator. I'm a Photoshop fiend, so and then I just kind of do some like generic coloring because I like to work with seeing the visuals of the color. And when you do stained glass, you have to design the pieces to know that they can break. So you can't do a 5-pointed star. It just will not break. So a lot of the cuts that I have here, I did based off of what I know I can cut with glass, except for this piece here. This is not something that can be cut with glass, and I don't have a ring saw, so I'm going to wing that one. We're gonna figure this out together. I'm probably gonna swear a lot. What you do is you make two. So this one we're gonna cut up, and this one we're gonna lay out and build on like a puzzle, so that we make sure that our pattern fits perfectly. What I'm doing here is numbering each pattern correspondingly. So I'm creating numbers that match each piece to the other pattern, so that when we cut it out, we know exactly where to place it. Each of these pieces are pretty irregular, so it's going to be hard to mess it up, but it's really good to make sure that you do that, and that way you know when things are upright. So once I'm done with that, I bring it down into my studio. I have a selection of glass already that I have laid out. Selecting glass is such a fun part of the creative process. You can get glass online, or you can find a local stained glass store. This is kind of an area where you can just get really, really creative with color choices. There are so many different glass types, one of the main ones being transparent glass, which is also called cathedral glass, meaning you can see right through it. I really love the look of this glass. It's very nebulous. I believe that this is either Yakagani or some sort of Oceania maybe. I'm still learning all the names of all the glasses, but I do know that this color, this texture is called mottled, and it really is a very cool, unique splattered effect. It's kind of nebulous, or you can also use it for ocean bubbles. There's a lot of different things that you can do with a mottled texture. This glass I absolutely love to use for the sun. This is a wispy opalescent glass. Opalescent means you cannot see through. There is no translucence. You can, I mean, kind of, but it is very opaque. The first thing we want to do is use these pattern shears. These you can buy at stained glass stores, on Amazon. They are Nacho average. The Nacho average scissors. You can kind of see that they have a channel here. There's actually a lot of vinyl sticker paper still stuck in here, but every time you make a cut, one cut, it makes two cuts, and it cuts out a little channel that is the right width of the solder bead that is going to go in between your pieces. So use these, not regular scissors. If you're cutting the outside edge of a pattern, that's okay. You can use regular scissors. You would want to. You wouldn't want the channel. This is only for cutting in between pieces where solder is going to lay in between those pieces. Okay, here goes nothing. Let's go. When you're cutting, try to use the middle of the shears. Keep the paper towards the middle. Don't use the entire length of the shears. It'll go a lot easier and a lot faster. Every now and then your middle channel is going to gum up with the stickiness of the vinyl sticker paper, and it's going to have the little paper in between. Just stop every now and then, clean it, and take the paper out. Sticking the pieces onto the glass is also quite the art form. This is how I like to do it. I like to put all of the pieces onto the glass at once and then break it. That's because I like to decide where each piece goes, what kind of part of the glass it gets. If you do it this method, then you want to make sure that you space everything. You can't just put it anywhere. You have to put it where you know you can crack the glass without breaking through the middle of any of the pieces that you want to stay whole. So it's just a bit tricky. It's a kind of like a puzzle, and I do like puzzles. Notice how this glass is oily on the surface. It has an iridized look. That's called iridized glass. You can purchase any glass with an iridized surface and you'll get that oily look. That's very cool and shifting in the lighting, you'll see. This is your standard pistol grip. You're going to use it to score the surface of the glass. These are special glass pliers. Notice how the bottom part is flat and the top part is curved. You're going to want to have the flat part on the bottom and the curved part on the top every time that you go to break a scored piece of glass. Okay, so now I'm on day 3 of the build. We are not going to include the time that it took to design and print the pattern. That's like a whole nother thing. We're just going to count the days of building. So I got some glass broken this morning. I was able to do a little bit today. Took a break, went to the park, and now I'm ready to kick some more glass. So let's go. To cut glass, you just score along the surface like so. I'm probably pressing too hard here, but score. And then you can tap on the bottom or use your pliers to break the glass. One thing that's important to note is that cutting a piece like this is not something you can just cut along this line and pop this right out. There are some very skilled artisans that can do that, especially when you're starting out. Don't do it. We're gonna make cuts that are called relief cuts. We're basically going to do little rainbow cuts, little mini micro bow cuts until we get to the desired edge that we want. I'll draw what that looks like. So that's what this looks like here. We're gonna cut right along these little rainbow lines that I made and make these little micro cuts as we get into the center. They're called relief cuts, and then that way it won't snap this piece and break our entire piece in half. And then have to start over, and I've done that many times. We don't want to do this again, so. See this little hammer-like thing that's on the end? We're gonna use that to just tap the glass on the bottom. So I scored on the top, and then I'm gonna tap on the bottom. And it's just gonna kind of loosen up that score line. If you have a pretty straight score line, you can just use your hands to break it. Very clean and easy. And already, even as I was doing this, I ended up breaking it. So we're gonna have to, what I do in this situation is I just get a new sticker and find the piece of glass that I was working with. So I think it was this. I still have a scrap of it left. And then we're just gonna replace it. So we're just gonna take the sticker off. That's why I really like having the sticker patterns. Unfortunately, this will go into the scrap. It's big enough where I could do something with mosaic or something with it, but I am going to just put this, oh, look at that. Kind of fits perfectly right there. Huh. And then I'll just cut along this edge, and then we'll cut this out. I think I'm gonna actually cut this out before I cut the whole thing off. And what that does is that this backing here, if I cut this line first, then this whole point would weaken, and it would have a risk of breaking again, just like it just did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and it's going to have this much strength to work with versus that much strength. So I got pretty close, but the backside chipped off. So see how finicky this is? It's very difficult. You will be very frustrated, but if you just stick with it, stay the course, keep moving, and never give up, you are going to come out on top. So we're just going to adjust this a little bit, and then I'm going to grind it. I'm just going to grind that portion down. All right, let's try this again. Voila. Tiny little chip here, but that can be filled in with solder, and it will be on the back side, so it won't even be noticeable. These points are really tricky. This will break so easily. If I cut this off and then I try to cut into this, this will just snap right off. So we're gonna try to do this a couple different ways. Yeah, just rip this right off. So you got this piece gone. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to come in here and take this out, and then I'm going to try to take this piece out. We'll see if I can do this without breaking it. So that was pretty clean. I'm I'm actually gonna just leave this here. I could try again, but I'm really gonna risk getting this point gone. It can be filled in with solder if it breaks off, but I just really want to grind the rest of this down with the grinder and protect this little point. It's very pointy. But yeah, we did that. We did this. We're doing the thing now to cut this part off. One question I get a lot is why don't I wear gloves when I'm breaking glass, and don't I get cut up all the time? And yes and no. I get little lacerations. They're very tiny sometimes. And the more that I've worked with stained glass, and the more that you get used to handling glass and breaking glass and like even touching these little bits and pieces, like you just do not, it doesn't, like these are sharp edges. It won't cut you. You just have to be careful. And, but the more that you work with it, the less cuts you get over time. When I was first starting in class, I had Band-Aids every time. I was going in once a week to do this class, and every week I had a new fresh set of cuts. But glass cuts, when working with stained glass, are so surface level that they heal within a day. They're very quick. They're like paper cuts almost, but not as painful. It's very strange. So they're very clean, and they heal very cleanly and very quickly. So don't let that be a deterrent for getting into this craft. It's very minimal. As I said that, I just got a little tiny cut. Now I'm bleeding, but it's really, it doesn't hurt. It just bleeds, and then you just like hold it and the pressure will stop the bleeding, and then it'll be healed up tomorrow. So if you break off a piece of glass that is bigger than the piece you're trying to leave on, it will take that small piece with it. So you have to make sure that the glass you're breaking off is smaller than the glass you're leaving on when you're doing tips. I guess it's a tip for tips. This piece all week, and it's because it is the impossible cut. I thought that maybe I could try to cut this out in an ellipse and then do little relief cuts just along here, just like those little rainbow cuts all the way in until I could get inside and just chip away at it like a masochist. But this piece of glass is just so beautiful. I don't have any more of it. I need to not risk breaking this in half and then starting again up here, and then I break that in half, and then I really ran out of room. So we're gonna break it up into smaller pieces. So now I broke it out and separated it so that the wisps will hopefully look the same if I can get this to break without breaking this. So I still could mess this up, but this is a better chance of surviving than the other one. Alright, descending into the basement for week 2. I spent 5 days breaking the glass over the course of a week. I'm ready to grind. So I'm going to show you guys how to set up a grinder. It's all the pieces that need to be ground, so we don't need to film that whole thing, but I'm going to film a few pieces and show you guys how I do it. And then I need to grind all like, I don't know, 70 pieces. And here is all my glass broken. It took, like I said, about 5 days for this, only because the shapes are so irregular, with all these different points and lots of these really deep semicircle cuts that just needed a lot of care to cut. These little guys. You can see here that even when you cut glass to the sticker, or as close as you can get, the breaks will never be perfect. And you will always have this little bit of glass to grind in certain places. Even if you did get it perfectly down to the sticker, you'd still want to run it through a grinder just to make sure that the edges aren't sharp and are even, so that when you put the copper foil on, it all lays perfectly. You can do it several ways. You can break each piece and then grind it and then put it on, and then do that, break another piece, grind it, put it on. I used to do it that way when I didn't have quite so many pieces, but because I've been working on bigger scale and with a lot more pieces to work with, I like to do things in batches. So I break it in batches, and then I grind everything, and then I foil everything, and then, I mean, you can even go so far as to break, grind, foil, place, break, grind, foil, place. But I find it's a lot better to just do everything at once. And then if you have to make adjustments, it's easy to do that. This is my little grinding station in the corner here. I just want to say that nothing about this video is going to be aesthetic. So this is not to be pretty. Like, this is a used, well-used grinder and grinding station. So you can see there's going to be a lot of discoloration, I mean, this is me keeping it as clean as I can over the last 1.5 years. So this is my dirty inland grinder. I really do like this version. You can get it for about, I just checked, it's $170 right now. And sometimes they run on sale for $150. So this is a grinder cookie. I'll show you how that works in a bit. It's going to save your hands and wrists a lot of pain. You're always going to want to wear cutting gloves too when you're grinding. I do not wear gloves when I'm breaking glass, but when I'm grinding, 100%. Like, I have really learned my lesson the hard way with that. You don't want to mess with because your fingers will be wet, and then you're pushing up against the glass for a long period of time. And that's just going to slice into your thumbs like butter. It's just really not a good combo. So gear up, wear your gloves, and wear safety glasses too when you grind, because we're basically taking this glass right here and we're turning it back into sand. We're just making it sand again. So yeah, I'll show you how this works in a bit. Speaking of bits, this is a grinder bit, and you can get these replacements for about $16, $17. And you just want to use it until you use it up. And that goes here. I'll show you the setup here. When you grind, it will go everywhere. So there will be splatters. So you're going to want to have something like this to protect the walls or the desk or whatever you have around it. Some people use fish tanks, which is really clever. They put it on the side and they stick the grinder in there. This is just a cooking, it's like for the stove. It's a stove backsplash, so it like helps like catch oils and stuff when you're cooking. This is the little removable. You can remove this to take it out and go clean it. This waffle grid pops out like this. Again, not aesthetic, and it's, trust me, this is just sand. It's just wet sand. Wet glass bits that are kind of stuck. I don't have a chisel, so I need to get a chisel to really clean this out. But this is the well which the remnants of the glass gets collected into. You want to keep water in here up to about this line. This is such a great grinder because there's such a large surface area to work on. It's one of my favorite things about it. I get water and then I just pour it. You can just pour it right into here. And then it fills it up, so it has water now in the well. You need some like little sponges, or you need to like cut up a sponge to be about this size. And I'm gonna wet this so that it just starts to inflate here. You see this little thing back here, we're gonna just kind of shove the sponge back into that, just so that this little back thing is stuffed with sponge, and then stick it kind of halfway. So you want it halfway down, halfway up, because this sponge is gonna wick water up, and then it's going to help us blast that glass back to sand. And then you stick this back on like so, get the sponge situated so it'll wick up the water. And now we're gonna put on our bit. This just goes right on here. You're gonna see a flat side of this little knob here. You're gonna put the screw, kind of align it with the side that's flat, because when you screw it on with the hex key, then there you go. You can adjust it up and down to get different layers of the bit. You're going to want to utilize this whole bit before you throw it out. These here are my new favorite little gewgaws. They are not full gloves. They're just these cut protectors you put on your fingertips. I love it because it keeps my palms free, and it just protects the things that I need protecting in this process. Grinder cookie, first piece of glass, let's get going. Prepare the surface that I'm going to be building on, and then I'm going to take the pieces that I ground all those many hours away at and taking the stickers off and putting them onto their corresponding place on the pattern. This is where it comes together like a jigsaw, and it starts to be really fulfilling. It's really good. It's very satisfying. You'll see. I like to have something that I can lift up and take different places, because I like to bring my project out of the basement studio and into a more comfortable, cozy place to do my foiling. That's just me though. But I do recommend you have a surface that you can drive these little aluminum tacks into. You're gonna wanna get aluminum tacks. These are definitely handy. You want them aluminum. They have a longer little point here, and this is essential. I don't know what these are called. I'll have to look them up on Amazon where I bought them, but they are a life changer when you're doing windows. You'll use them and the pins and this right angler, a surface that you can potentially pick up, put pins into, and also needs to be heat resistant because we're going to be soldering on it, and safe, and it doesn't release any toxic chemicals. So when I'm laying these framing pieces in, I'm using this right angler to make sure that I have it at a completely perfect right angle. And here it is, all ground down, and everything is placed together on its corresponding place on the pattern. Note how there's plenty of room for the copper foil and the solder. So now that we have all of our pieces laid out and ground down into the parameters of our framing pieces, it's starting to come together. This is the really satisfying part, and also my favorite part of this process. We're going to now wrap each piece in copper foil. This is the foil that I use. It is not really labeled anything other than copper foil tape. And then This is 3/16 of an inch. So this is considered thinner tape. And if you are starting out, it might be good to do the 1/4 inch. It's a little bit thicker and your solder lines will be a little bit thicker, but you'll definitely get used to laying copper foil down with a thicker tape. This is kind of like a level 2, level 3 step up. So to foil, you want your foil to have overlay on either side of the piece, evenly on each side. So you're going to just kind of start wrapping, but make sure that there is equal width of foil on each side. So you just have to go very slow and then just start to turn. This is something that you really need to be patient with as you're starting to learn. It helps to use your thumb or your finger to roll it just very gently. It's really hard to see, but you can kind of use your thumb here as a little guide and just make sure the glass stays in the center of the tape. And then turn a corner, wrap it around. Just be very patient and slow and gentle. When you meet at the piece you started at and it's fully wrapped, just tear it off. It tears very easily. And kind of push it down. But see how the foil is still sticking up? You're going to now need your burnishing tool. This is a fid. Some people use screwdrivers, some people use Sharpies. Whatever you can use that has sort of a nice little thin point that can really get in here. This is made for stained glass, very inexpensive. It's called a fid or burnishing tool. So to burnish the foil, just kind of start by pressing down. We're just gonna press it around the edges to push it down. You can kind of glide along some of these edges here. Push, push, push. It's still not flush against the piece. You want your tape to be totally flush against the glass. So that's where the fid comes in. And once we've pushed down as much as we can, we're going to finish the rest by using the burnisher. Always burnish inward. So you're just smashing the foil down onto the glass and flattening out the little bumps, especially around the tips and the points. And you want to make sure that it is even. If there's a gap anywhere, you want to fill that with more foil, because where the foil lands is where your solder lands. And so if you have like weird little points or things, the solder is going to bubble out into weird little points. You'll also want to burnish the edges a little bit. So I use my fid to just kind of scrape along to really make sure that it is stuck to the glass. This will strengthen all of your solder joints. Really get it down. And voila, we have our first piece. We're going to be framing our piece in zinc. And so when we're doing an edge piece and foiling an edge piece, we do not have to foil the edge that's going to lay in the zinc frame. All we need to do is foil along the edges that's going to have the solder run. So an edge piece, we just need to do these 3 edges, but I typically wrap around a little bit, and that way we're not wasting foil by doing something that is going to be just shoved into a zinc channel anyway. It's a pretty iridescent piece. It's so iridescent. Yay! So this is what a foiled and burnished edge piece would look like. You don't need foil here, just where it's in the middle of your piece and your pattern. Now I will repeat this with all of the pieces. It's definitely not everyone's favorite part of stained glass, but it is kind of my favorite part. Making everything shiny.
Through the fields of our paths, feelings part our ways, keeping us close but estranged now. Dreams holding us closer, meadows of our youth, 107 days, but recalling it backwards. Our dreams holding us closer. Ooh, we can see so clear. Ooh, we can see so clear. Shades of grey, living day to day. Even when we're free, it's true. The difference is the same. The colors always change, but the song is the same now.
Time to solder. This is my soldering iron that I have. You do not want to get one that's made for circuit boards and tiny electronics. You want something with a bit of heft to it. So this is a big barrel. It looks like it's 110, 120 voltage, 100 watts. So you want something like this. I love how self-explanatory it is. Soldering iron control. So I plug my soldering iron in here, and then this goes to the wall outlet, and this is where I can control the temperature. And I also turn on my soldering iron this way. To turn on my soldering iron, I bring it up to 10, and that's the temperature that I start at, full temp. I can lower it when I'm soldering the backside if I don't want to burn through. This is the Canfield Technologies Solder Mate 2 Flux. Flux is essential for wherever you're laying solder down. It cleans the impurities that are along the foil, and it allows it so that the solder will flow and stick. If you don't use Flux, you're not going to solder correctly at all. So it is caustic, not carcinogenic, meaning if you get it on your fingertips, it's going to feel like your fingers are melting off into oblivion. Don't panic, wash your hands, and just be careful. I also use a Dremel, not for the glass, but for zinc framing pieces. So this is zinc. You can see how this side is closed off and this side is an open channel. I'm gonna use this to frame this piece. We're gonna slip the glass into here at the end, and we're gonna use a Sharpie and then the Dremel to cut 45-degree angles and frame our piece. This is the solder I'll be using. It's Canfield, and it's 60-40 solder, 60% tin, 40% lead. You will be able to use any 60-40 lead solder to do your stained glass projects. They come in 1-pound spools, so it's usually about $24 to $30 a pound, depending on if you buy in bulk or individually. This is my finishing compound that I use. It is a little bit pricey, but this stuff is the real deal. This is the very last and final step. This is my super bright copper patina. We're going to apply this to the lead after we've soldered it to bring it back to a copper sheen. Little brushes to apply the flux to the foil. So to start, we're going to flux. Just dip your brush into the flux and start running it along the solder lines, just where you're going to put solder. You don't need to coat the glass. If we missed a spot, it'll be super easy to tell because the solder will not run very well. We want to move fast because we don't want the flux to be sitting on the glass for ever and ever and ever. The first thing I do is tack my project because we want to take off these framing pieces. So just tap your iron to the lead and just get a little bit of solder kind of in the seams. We're not going to be going through the whole thing, we're just tacking at this point. See how this isn't sticking? It means I did not get flux there, so we can fix that. And now it's sticking. Perfect. So we're gonna tack all of our pieces. Tack. Now that everything's tacked, it's all attached fairly delicately, but we can take away these framing pieces now because our pieces aren't going to go all over the place. Now that we have all of our edge pieces off, it's time to really get into the flow. When we solder up to an edge, don't solder all the way to the very end. We won't be able to fit the edge into our zinc frame. We will finish that once we frame the piece. So just do it just enough, just to get the pieces connected and attached. See how whenever I go over this once, it's just a little bit flat. I usually go over it again until it bubbles really beautifully. Get that really beautiful solder bubble. Bubbly solder. And if you're working in one place for too long, in one area, you have the risk of getting a heat crack in your glass. So move around, do a little spot here, go do another spot, let this cool down, come back to do the rest. You don't have to focus at any one area for an extended period of time. So now that we have everything on this one side soldered, we are going to flip it to do the back side. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit because it's easy to burn through when you're on the back side of a project, but we can go over these solder lines in a bit. One thing about having one layer soldered is it's super delicate, so just be very careful, and we're going to turn everything over very delicately to do the back side. Whew, see how flimsy it is? All right, this is what the backside looks like unsoldered. You can see the parts where the solder bled through from the front side when soldering the front. So now we're just going to use just a little bit of flux. We don't need to use as much because flux already leaked through. So just do a very light brushing of flux on these solder lines and then turn the heat down just a little bit. I kind of bring it down to a 9 from a 10. And then we're going to solder the back. Try to go really fast on this backside. Okay, so you just need to get it to bubble up. Now both sides are soldered, but it's still very flimsy and very fragile. So now we need to frame it in zinc. This is our zinc cane that I purchased. So you can see the channel here that I stuck this part into, and what we're just gonna do is with a Sharpie mark in the corners at a 45-degree angle, and then we're gonna Dremel. I'm gonna do the same for this side, and that side, and then we're gonna have 4 pieces that are cut at 45 degrees, and then we'll stick it in and solder it all together. In order to attach the frame to our glass, we just need to bring the solder and kind of just gently connect it to the zinc and then fill in these little gaps with flux and solder. And we're just gonna lightly kiss the zinc with the solder. We don't want to blob it up onto the zinc because patina reacts differently with lead versus zinc. It turns lead copper and it will turn zinc black. So we don't want kind of a mix of copper and black. You'll see. So flux your corner. Get a lot of flux in there because you're going to want to build up the solder. And then just gently flux. You want flux on your zinc in order to connect the glass to the zinc. And then we get our solder very gently. Just kiss it. That's a weird term, but that's kind of how I do it. We don't want it to blob up onto the zinc. We just want it to attach. And it will be strong. So that's what you do for these little solder points here, and then we're going to fill in, well, actually I'm going to connect these, connect, kiss, lightly kiss, connect, perfect. And then just, this is a huge gap, and so the solder will just disappear into it, and it's going to bubble up and build, kind of let it cool, bubble up and build, let it cool, and bubble up and build, just melt it right into that crack. This will be blobular, if that's a word, but that's okay. You'll see how it all comes together in the end. Patina will make the zinc black if you leave it on. What I like to do is I like to put patina on my zinc frame And then I brush it with steel wool to give it a brush nickel look. So I just feel like it looks more natural with the copper. You can see it's building up here. I'm gonna let it kind of cool while it settles so I can build a little bit more on top of that. Now it's starting to bubble on the surface. I just want to kind of get a little bit off the tip. And now, yeah, it's just gonna set like that. We don't want it to be too bubbly on the right angle there. And now that is secured. And then do the same on the other side. So just connect everything all around your piece and then flip it over and do it on the back side as well. Okay, now we have everything attached. You can see there's like some solder that is kind of pooled on here. It'll just pop right off. We're going to now take this. If you're at this stage, you're going to take it out to a hose. You're going to use dish soap and just as much water as you possibly can. You cannot have too much water. We are washing all the flux off of it. So here we go. We've got some Trader Joe's liquid dish soap. Just douse it. Yeah. Then turn on our hose here. And absolutely go to town. You cannot have too much water. Wow, look at that iridized glass. That looks really nice. I'm so happy with how that came out. But now we need to take patina and make these solder lines copper again. I like to take my patina and just pour it into the cap. This is how I do it. And set it somewhere where you can access it with a brush. Get another one of these little guys. Dab it in this blue copper patina and watch how this transforms. Makes me feel a little bit like an alchemist. Notice how when I touch the lead, it turns to copper, and when I touch the zinc, it turns black. So this is how it reacts to zinc versus how it reacts to copper. This patina is still copper patina, but it just reacts differently to zinc. I'll show you what I do because I don't really like the black border. I'll show you what I do to make it look more like a signature Elise frame. Look at it bubble. You can see it really interacting chemically. I wipe away that initial patina with a paper towel so it's more of a brush nickel look. And then if it's still a little too black at the end, I will go over with steel wool. Steel wool is the one thing that will actually lift patina up off of a metal. So if you used a copper patina on your project and you change your mind and you'd rather it be black, you just get steel wool and rub it down over the lines until it gets back to silver. You can erase patina, but I love this golden copper sheen for this. Look at that beautiful. The very last and final step is the finishing wax. So this is just something that we do right here. Once that's done, we will wipe it off with anything from paper towels, and then I like to get into these cracks with a toothbrush just because when this wax dries, it'll be really crusty. Make sure to wait for the wax to dry completely before you wipe it off. My process for stained glass. I know it was a long haul, but I appreciate you sticking with me through the whole thing. This just is how I do it. It's how it works for my brain and my space, but if you have some tips or tricks, things that you do differently, if you're watching this and you do stained glass and you think I could do it in a better way, like totally let me know. I'm also still learning every day. There are 3 valuable takeaways I want people to have from this. At least one. One, you've satisfied your curiosity a little bit with how I do this. 2, you have gained a whole new appreciation for stained glass that maybe you didn't have before, didn't know the time, cost, just the investment that it takes to actually make something like this. And 3, maybe you've watched what I did and realized you can do it yourself. And I think you can. I really hope that's a spark that I generated in someone. Any part I can play in that, I'm happy to do. So if you have any questions about how I did anything, where I got something, I'm not doing affiliate links, I'm not trying to make any money here, I'm just trying to spread the love of stained glass. Yeah, just drop a comment. I will happily respond. I'd be glad to hear from you. Thanks so much for following along on this little journey here to get to my vision. Be kind, have fun, make art.
Coloring outside the lines, and you tell me you're just passing by. Drowning in your reasons why. Talk is cheap, but we're wasting time. So hold on to all that feeds your soul.